Drama, drama, drama. When Sweden needed a meal, they got a Michelin star performance from their young starlet.
And speaking of drama, Cristiano Ronaldo is already out of the World Cup. But is he on his way out of Real Madrid too? There are some strong suggestions he'll be with another European giant next season.
And how about your three Lions then, Kay? They snapped an old curse, and I'm sure you experienced every emotion along the way. You doing okay?
I'm doing all right, Kevin. I am still trying to get my head around it all. Thank you so much for joining us on the Xtra Russia.
A quarter-final berth was on the line when Colombia and England collided in Moscow, and what a dramatic game this turned out to be. To the action we go, a penalty awarded to England, 57th minute, up steps Harry Kane, ruthless past David Ospina for his 6th goal of the tournament, but look at the time, 93rd minute, Big Yeri, ruthless header, and the Barcelona man celebrates. We go to penalty kicks. Jordan Pickford with a massive save on Carlos Bacca. And then it was Eric Dyer that did the business. England breaking the curse from the penalty kick spot. Dramatic scenes at the end means they've booked their place in the quarter-final. A tense game, but hardly a beautiful one. David Ospina was forced to make just one save. It was a feisty game throughout. 36 fouls, 23 committed by the Cafeteros. History for England with their first World Cup penalty shootout win. Let's get the thoughts of former Colombia international Mario Yepes.
Mucha amargura porque habíamos hablado sobre todo antes del partido.
I'm really bitter because, as I mentioned before the game, that whichever team wins this match would have a great chance to make it to the final. I'll say it again. For me, England now has a great chance of making it to the final. Colombia lost a great opportunity. I hope they can make it to the next World Cup, because they could have made it to the semis for the first time ever, and maybe even the final. I'm also very sad for the people that made a great effort to travel all the way to Russia, from far, far away like Colombia. But I'm also very happy for the confidence that they demonstrated and how we played. And I think overall they played a great World Cup. I'm still bitter, but I'm also very proud of the work of the coaches, players, and everyone.
Yeah, devastation for the Cafeteros, ecstasy for the English, though. Let's head out to Moscow and get a little bit more from J Squared, Jaime Macias and Jamie Easton. Tancredi, excuse me.
What an amazing game we enjoyed here at the Spartak Stadium. There was huge tension in the stands. England dominated the game, but they ended suffering. Another goal by Yerry Mina, 3 goals already by the Colombian in this World Cup. But in the end, everything was solved out in the penalty shootout. You had to see the English fans' faces in the stands saying, no, please, not again, a penalty shootout. But actually, they won this one 22 years after the last one.
Possibly they face the best team to win at penalties at World Cup. Colombia don't have at all a great history at penalties and never anyway played penalties at World Cup. England since 22 years weren't able to do so, all in quarterfinals of Euro 96 against Spain, but was home Euro Championship. It was a game between mind and heart. You saw the mind, the science of football of England, who has been so composed for the whole 90 minutes, letting not only 2 chances to Colombia, but actually 2 building up. It was almost everything perfect, except the fact that they were only winning by 1 goal, and it is a risk. And then the heart of Colombia, the heart at the very last minute, the heart in the first half of the extra time, but penalties are never a coincidence.
Harry Kane, another goal, 6 goals already in this tournament, and English fans dreaming about achieving something important in this World Cup, because what they say is that they have an easy path towards the final. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no easy games in this World Cup, that's for sure. Kay Murray here, joined by Andres Cordero and Carlos Ruiz. Let's get straight to it then and look back on this game. Did England do enough to convince you, Carlos Ruiz, going forward?
No. I mean, they played well the first half, part of the second half, but Colombia never gave up, start playing the ball. The midfielder of England disappeared. So Colombia tried to put that ball in the midfielder, you know, try to create something. Probably they don't create a lot of chances to score, but the one who have the ball and try to play the soccer in this game, football in this game, was Colombia. Now, I understand in England you play like that. As soon as you get to the offensive box, better, 1 or 2 passes, you know. You're not gonna see a pretty passes from England or a creativity in the midfielder, but they make the next round, so that's good for England.
Yeah, sure.
They've done enough to convince me that they deserve to be where they are, that they should be in the quarterfinals, considering who they were up against and on the balance of this game itself. But we were in 120 minutes. There was 1 shot on target other than Harry Kane's penalty. They don't have a playmaker who can get the ball to Harry Kane, and so Kane has to step back and sort of play 2 roles. What they have convinced me of is that they have the right mentality. And I think that comes not just from the manager, but also from Harry Kane. You don't see a lot of big egos on this team. They genuinely seem to like being around one another, and that shows, that transfers to the pitch. And right after the game was over, touchline interview with Southgate, he's talking about Sweden. And I love that. I think that team is focused because of Southgate.
Do you think they're missing a game changer in this England team, or do you think their strength is in the fact that there are no big stars?
They're relying right now on the likes of Trippier, who works extremely hard to send crosses in. They have the aerial game that Pesadito alluded to earlier. But again, I think they're asking Harry Kane to pull double duty because he almost has to come back and be creator and goal scorer. So I do think they're missing an attacking midfielder, someone who can sort of find those passes down the channel.
Yeah.
But they're on the right side of the bracket where they might not need that to get to the final. Croatia, the biggest obstacle left in the way.
Did Colombia take the right approach, though? We know the football they can play, especially in the first half of this game. They were pretty aggressive by their standards. Yes, they're missing James Rodriguez, but it's not essentially the Colombia that we have grown to know and love.
Yeah, I mean, James is a big piece in this puzzle of Colombia, and he was not playing today. Quintero, he didn't play well, but I think, you know, for this kid play against England in this stage of the World Cup was big for him. But what I don't like is when Falcao received the ball, he was always back to the goal. And you cannot like play to the forward like that because you're not like trying to take them to face to the goal, you know. So I think Colombia learn how the game was, because when you play with 3 on the back, is you trying to put more midfielders in that area, in the half of the field, England. So Colombia says, okay, we're gonna stop the exit of these wingers and try to create the space or create soccer in the middle. And for England was no soccer over there. It was only defender to forwards, forwards to defenders. So that's the difficulty of England right now.
You know, we said that England lacked an attacking midfielder to make things happen. Colombia had 2, and it wasn't enough because they were really missing James. They became predictable because everything was going through the right where Cuadrado was. Cuadrado would link up with Quintero. As you're saying, Falcao would find the ball with his back to goal. And then there was no ability to switch to the other side, which meant Mojica on that left-hand side had to run up and down the entire day.
Okay, well, we'll have more chat on this coming up, but Sweden and Switzerland played the other last 16 clash today, and it might not have been a goal fest, but it still left us with some good talking points about a Swedish side where every single player was experiencing their first ever World Cup.
Yeah, we're going to step aside for just a couple of minutes here on the Extra Russia. When we come back, we'll break down the 4 quarter-finalists in detail, figure out what they need to do better, and we'll tell you why Japan are now our new favourite team and why they should be yours. And Carlos Ruiz goes in, studs up on 5 nations that have disappointed in Russia.
England has won a penalty shootout at a World Cup for the first time in team history. England has now qualified for the quarterfinal of a World Cup for the first time since 2006.
Welcome back to Extra Russia. This wonderful World Cup rolls on and we now get ready to enter the quarter-final stage. Every night we've been bringing you the best of the day's action and all the top talking points too. Make sure you join us every night, 7 Eastern, during the tournament. Sweden and Switzerland played the first game of the day, and as far as matchups went, it didn't promise to be a thriller minute, and it lived up to that non-promise too. This, the only goal of the game, a deflected shot from Emil Forsberg, taking a wicked deflection there off that man Manuel Akanji. Forsberg, the first Swede to score in the World Cup knockout rounds since Henrik Larsson against Senegal in 2002. This goal means that the Swedish reached the last eight for the first time since 1994. 1-0, it finishes to Sweden. Sweden with less possession, less shots on target, and less accurate passes. And despite criticism that Emil Forsberg has faced back in Sweden, his strike, albeit deflected, was the difference. After the game, Lothar Matthäus gave his thoughts on the outcome.
It makes a difference, and for this, that didn't dominate in this game how we maybe accept before. And I think this was a key from Sweden, and I thought the same when I compare this game from Sweden tactically with the game against Germany. There was attacking Switzerland earlier. There was going more out from the defense. They didn't give them to construct the game and give Switzerland many long balls. And Shaqiri, normally he's a player who has to go 1 against 1. How many times he was going 1 against 1 today? I think not more than 3 times. What Shaqiri was doing, he gives the long balls diagonal in the box. And in the box was only Drimic. Drimic is 178. And the defender of Sweden are 190 and Dollar. And I think they didn't find a way to come dangerous in the box. Only after the goal from Sweden, there was playing a little bit all in, change the system, and then there was more active in the offense, but not more effective. They get a couple of chances, but not more.
Welcome back in. Kevin Egan alongside Carlos Ruiz and Dre Cordero. So Sweden reaching the last eight of the competition for the first time since 1994. Now, that side had the likes of Brolin and the aforementioned Henrik Larsson as well, some stars. This team doesn't have that sexy factor about it, Dre. So what have we learned from this team that's now in a quarter-final?
That international football doesn't require the sexy factor. What it requires is teamwork and solidity, and I think this team is very organized, almost organized to a fault. I mean, I thought I was watching line dancing today between Switzerland and Sweden as they moved sort of in synchronicity up and down the pitch. They are going to be difficult to break down for any team. For England, they're very, very good in the air, as you heard from Lothar Matthäus. Yeah. And I think that's been enough to make them competitive. They haven't been making mistakes at the back. The finishing has been absolutely woeful. I mean, from the Toivonen to Forsberg, who got the deflected goal in today, to Berg. I mean, there was a shot from their right back today that went straight out for a throw-in. So the finishing has to improve, but at least they've been competitive based on the fundamentals, the organization and the discipline that they have.
Yes, it's true.
I should point out that you're actually going out with a Swedish lady. So you'll be in the doghouse if you say anything bad about Sweden right now. But they had that X factor, didn't they, from Emil Forsberg. And Kay Murray mentioned the fact that he's been criticised at times in Sweden, yet he produced the goods when they needed him.
Yeah, I mean, I can say many good things about Sweden, and I put it here. Sweden is the perfect example for teams who don't have any extraordinary players, and they can tell you right now, you can win with discipline, with a strong mentality, and defending well. I mean, when you don't have that talent in your team, you have to defend because it's hard for them to score. They create a lot of opportunities. In the first half, they create opportunities, but they don't finish it. So you defend well, sooner or later, you're going to score. And how defend? They stay compact, they stay together. Lombo, okay. Gransby is there, Lindelof is there. They are going to have the ball in defensive. And what do they do? Second ball. The second ball is important. They grab the second ball and they go counter-attack. That's the good thing about Sweden.
I think they've taught us not to underestimate them, haven't they? You saw that. They conceded just one goal. That was a golazo in this tournament from Toni Kroos. And then they knock out Italy on the way to being here too, Dre.
The one thing I would say is I'm screaming at my television today, asking for Forsberg to move inside. I know he's a winger. I know he's comfortable out there. I know that the structure is almost non-negotiable.
Yes.
But that's why I said to a fault, because that game was screaming for somebody, a difference maker in the middle of the park. And he's the only one they have who treats the ball well. And I think he can do a much better job of bringing defenders into that area and creating chances out wide.
Sweden make it to the quarterfinal, Kay Murray. But I think it's safe to say that's about as far as they'll go, right?
Listen, I am not hedging my bets on anything right now. Just happy to still be in the competition. Coming up a little later on Extra Russia, we ask what adjustments the last 8 teams need to make to their squads as they enter the quarter-final stage. Dre will have his say on Uruguay and France with me, as well as Brazil and Belgium. Kevin and Carlos will take the other fixtures. But which quarter-final clash are you most looking forward to? We asked you to let us know in our poll question, and I think most would agree that Uruguay against France is looking like a safe bet there. 37%. Just behind, though, Sweden and England seems to be catching up, but look at that one. I'm thinking Brazil against Belgium could be pretty tasty. Let's step back in time now and tell you about a little World Cup history from this very day. It is 28 years to the day that Argentina knocked the host nation, Italy, out of the World Cup in 1990 on penalties to make the final. The hero that day, Sergio Goycochea, who saved 2 penalty kicks against Italy to send Argentina to the World Cup final. He saved the 4th and the 5th kick. Stick around here, though, on the Extra Russia. We're still doing Team Messi, Team Ronaldo, Team Neymar. Find out what the deal is with that. We'll answer your questions on the World Cup and more. And is Cristiano Ronaldo leaving Real Madrid for real this time? More on that coming up in the Transfer Tracker.
Sweden has qualified for its first World Cup quarter-final since 1994. 8 of Sweden's last 9 World Cup goals have been scored in the second half.
That is absolutely brilliant. Ciao, ciao, Leo. Talk to you soon, Ronnie. Many stars have left this World Cup, but by the looks of things, Neymar and Brazil going absolutely everywhere. Now, you've seen the footage, you've read all the articles. You know we love to focus on the superstars at this World Cup. No Messi, no Ronaldo anymore. How far will Neymar go? Gabriel Amado has graduated him to the class of superstars. So now it's time for Team Messi versus Team Ronaldo versus Team Neymar.
Team Messi versus Team Ronaldo versus Team Neymar is officially over. The knockout round of the World Cup did just that. Knocked out Team Messi, and hours later, knocked out Team Ronaldo. Team Neymar wins by default, Nene scoring Brazil's first against Mexico and setting up the second to seal Brazil's ticket to the next round. The winner of Team Messi versus Team Ronaldo versus Team Neymar. But game changer. If you knock out one of the top 3 players in the world, you deserve to take their spot. Team Messi knocked out by Team Mbappe in France. The teen sensation netting a brace to send La Pulga packing. Team Ronaldo knocked out by Team Cavani and Uruguay. El Matador also netting a brace to send Ronaldo riding. Which means, drum roll please, the quarterfinal duel of Team Mbappe versus Team Cavani versus Team Neymar is officially in session. And nay, you'll eventually go head-to-head with one of these two. Beware.
Oh, Gabriel Amado, she's off a rocker. Absolutely off a rocker. Welcome back in to Carlos Ruiz. Now, for those of you that followed Pescadito during his Major League Soccer career, you'd know that he never really held back when it came to defenders. And you're not going to hold back here today as well. You've picked your most disappointing 5 nations at the World Cup. And at number 5, little old Peru. For the first time in 36 years, you're going studs up on Peru. Why?
Yes, Kev, because I expect more from Peru. I mean, they came from a very tough qualification in South America. And I think everybody expects Peru make the next round. But the first game they lost against Denmark, they missed a PK in that game. Paulo Guerrero don't play the first game from the beginning. But I think Peru was they have a little bit more to show.
Okay, Portugal.
I mean, Portugal, they play well against Spain, was struggle against Morocco. They make the next round, but I think Portugal don't have enough to be in the in the next round, and I think they don't show the potential. They are still the European champion.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to show more. You know?
They met such a brick wall, though, in Uruguay in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Spain crashing out, all the hype about Spain, Carlos, and behind the scenes it was a mess. On the field against Russia, wasn't too much better.
Yeah, it was too much drama before the World Cup for Spain about the coach and the Rubiales, the president. I think I'm blaming all this to Rubiales. I think Spain have too much talent. They have to change a little bit the tiki-taka to be more aggressive. We'll see what's going to happen next for Spain. But for right now, I mean, it was a lot disappointed from Spain.
Disagree. I blame Julian Lopetegui. Argentina, you have at number 2.
Well, Argentina the same. It's kind of like Spain, but when you have one of the best players in the world like Lionel Messi, I mean, you have to also try to show something better. Argentina.
You're not a fan of Sampaoli, what he did, right?
No. Since the first game, Argentina was a struggle, was not looking good. And everything starts wrong, ended wrong. So,
and you're not, in a number 1, you're not blaming the German Football Association. You're not blaming Jogi Löw. You're blaming the players.
Yeah, I'm blaming the players because they have everything in Germany. I mean, it's many years to build this team. You know, these are young players, new blood, and you go to the World Cup and you get out. You lost against South Korea. I mean, I'm not going to talk bad about South Korea, but you cannot lose against South Korea.
Yeah.
You struggle the first game against Mexico, losing that game. You win against Sweden because, you know, you have an extraordinary player like Toni Kroos. But Germany was the biggest deception of this World Cup.
We need to do this more often. Studs up with Carlos Ruiz. Absolutely love it. So, those 5 nations not heading to the quarterfinals. Kay Murray, Drake Cordero have more on the teams that are.
Yeah, because then there were 8. The quarterfinals are set, and with everything we've seen so far in Russia 2018, it is still anyone's guess as to what happens next. For sure, there are favourites, but we've already seen so many surprises. Here's the bracket. We're going to focus on a couple of those games here, myself and Andres Cordero. Now, Uruguay-France is where we'll begin. Then we'll get to Brazil against Belgium as well. But with Uruguay against France, we're asking what needs to change. For Uruguay, they've got some decisions to make because Cavani looks like he's not going to make it.
We know what needs to change because they're forced to change it. Edinson Cavani is injured, and the Uruguayan Federation say it's very unlikely that he'll be available to play in this game. And so the question is, who replaces him? And I'd love to see Maxi Gomez get an opportunity. He was absolutely brilliant for Celta this year, 21-year-old kid with 17 goals in La Liga. That's only a couple less than Antoine Griezmann. If you look at the players that finished ahead of him in La Liga in goal scoring, they're all the superstars. The Messis, the Ronaldos, the Antoine Griezmanns, the Luis Suarez's and company. But more likely, Oscar Washington Tavares, who doesn't like to take too many risks, will probably go with someone like a Christian Stuani or a Cebolla Rodriguez. Out of those two, I prefer to see Stuani. He had a terrific season with Girona in La Liga. Likely starting out wide, I think, for Uruguay. Something like a 4-5-1 where Stuani starts out on the left-hand side of that midfield and can morph into a second striker behind Luis Suarez.
When we're looking at France, do you think they need to tighten their act up?
Yeah, I'd like to see them act like they all speak the same language when they have the ball, because France are supremely gifted. I mean, they are loaded and talented. Kylian Mbappe is in danger of stealing the show with this World Cup. Look out for Ballon d'Or nominations, the way that he's been playing so far. But at times when France have the ball, they do lack that cohesion, that understanding. It's been frustrating for me seeing such talented players who thrive on their club teams dribble the ball toward a teammate as opposed to pass it to where he is, which is much more efficient, or play a pass to the inside while someone like Giroud is making a run to the outside. They really have looked out of sync in possession, and Uruguay are going to give you the ball. So you're going to have plenty of opportunities to make a mistake with it. Uruguay are very good at punishing those mistakes. So treat the ball better if you're France.
Okay, let's focus on Brazil against Belgium. Do Brazil actually need to change anything? Obviously, we're pending a few injury situations. Do they need to change anything?
Probably not, but they've been forced to change things, right? Because of the injuries, they've gotten some good news now. Marcelo was reportedly back in training. Douglas Costa was cleared to train. I thought Douglas Costa, after what we saw earlier in the group stage, would get an opportunity to break into that starting 11 in place of Willian. Might be a little too soon for that, but I wouldn't change too much. There is the one forced change with Casemiro suspended, so Paulinho slots in. I think we're undervaluing the contribution at times that Casemiro makes to this Brazil team and how much he does free Paulinho to get forward and make those secondary runs and appear in the box as almost a false nine.
It just put a little predicted lineup for this game together here.
Yep, there's Fernandinho and Casemiro's would-be spot. Does that mean now Paulinho and Coutinho, who are both very attack-minded midfielders, have to stay back a little bit more to help Paulinho out in defense? They've been so solid, Brazil. There's not a lot of reasons to change. Great attacking line, a strong midfield, and defensively, Alisson hasn't really been tested that much because that back four has been so good.
Did I just see a back three there for Belgium?
Yeah, I wish it wasn't the case, though. They looked, for me, their best. If I would change anything, I would scream at Roberto Martinez to go back to that four-man backman that we saw late in the game against Japan, which, by the way, still the best game that we have seen at the World Cup so far for me was Belgium against Japan. They'll likely start out with a back three again, Vertonghen with Company and Toby Alderweireld. But I would love to see Vertonghen play as a left back because Yannick Carrasco has not had a good World Cup. And whether that's because he left China in the middle of Atletico Madrid's season or because he's forced to do too much defending on that left-hand side, I don't know. But I know that Nasser Chadli looked okay in that position. And I'd like to see Vertonghen as a left back behind Carrasco to see what Carrasco can give them going forward.
Yeah, two great games to look out for. And we will focus on the other two quarterfinals with Kevin Pescadito. A little later on, they'll be tackling the topics of Russia against Croatia and Sweden against England. But Dre, while you're here, we're playing a little World Cup trivia game. And don't worry about getting the answers perfectly right now. We're going to give you some choices. It's been a long day. We've watched a few games in this one.
You're making excuses for me.
I know. First question. How many countries have won the World Cup as hosts?
As hosts?
Is it 4, 5, 6 or 7?
As hosts. 4.
The answer is 6.
4. You know that.
Not too far,
Uruguay,
though. No.
Italy. Does Uruguay's count? Yeah, of course it counts.
All right, next question. Bad start, but you can turn it around. It's Russia 2018. We've seen turnarounds in these games. Who scored the only open play goal conceded by Italy in World Cup 2006? Zinedine Zidane, Christian Zaccardo, Miroslav Klose or Landon Donovan?
Wasn't that the Zaccardo own goal against the United States in the group stage? I was at that game.
It was that. It was exactly that. B is the correct answer. We are back in the game with Dre Cordero. All right, last question. What have we got? Who scored the fastest goal in World Cup history? Hakan Suker, Ricardo Gareca, Ronaldo or Gerd Muller?
I'm just going to play the numbers game with this. And Gerd Muller, for a while, was the top scorer in World Cup, so I'm going to assume that he had one really early on. And I got that wrong.
It is the man at the top. It is A, Hakan Suker, scoring after just 10.89 seconds for Turkey against South Korea in 2002. I don't think we have any more time for the last one, but we maybe save it for a later date. As is always the case with the World Cup, so many of the stories come from beyond the pitch. You mentioned Japan. Well, look at this. After that heartbreaking last-minute loss to Belgium on Monday, they have been praised as an example of pure class. These pictures have gone viral on social media. The impeccable state that the Japanese squad left their locker room in Rostov. A message left there saying, "Spasibo," I think I said that right, thank you, in Russian. I wonder if Kevin Egan leaves the male locker room at beIN Sports as tidy as this.
No chance. I mean, they leave the buckets of makeup in there. I leave it all over the shop. We put this one out to you. Who would leave the messiest locker room? 50% roughly. As of right now, the votes are still coming in saying England. I mean, I'd say Jamie Vardy is filthy. Just my opinion. Jordan Pickford, not too far behind. Final break to take, or a quick break, we should say, here on the Extra Russia. When we come back, we are doing much more on those quarterfinals. Carlos Ruiz tells us what certain nations need to do to advance beyond that stage. We take your questions from the public. We answer them here in studio. And we've got the latest from the transfer tracker, where Cristiano Ronaldo could be leaving Real Madrid.
I'm glad it wasn't a dance-off against Colombia, that's all I can say. Welcome back to Extra Russia. It's time for an on-fire transfer tracker. Let's not waste any time and get right to it. Spain sacked their coach before a game's even been played in the World Cup, but Germany exit the group stage for the first time in what seems like forever, but they announced that they're keeping Jogi Löw through 2022. Then again, he did win them a World Cup. In the Premier League, Riyad Mahrez looks set to complete his long-anticipated move to Manchester City later this week. Leicester City have accepted the bid, which is said to be in the region of £60 million. Barcelona and Chelsea are said to be in talks over the transfer of Willian. Chelsea rejected a big bid in excess of £50 million, so Barca are going to have to up their offer. The Premier League club is said to be open for offers for the player to spend in the summer. On other players, Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus. The rumour started on a less than reliable Spanish sports shouty talk show, but suddenly more credible sources are stating that the deal is happening. The figures being spoken about, over 100 million. We're going to be watching this one very closely. And Real Madrid took to Twitter to officially deny a story linking them to Neymar, which seems a little weird and makes many think that they definitely do want to be linked with Neymar. And with this Cristiano news, today's transfer tracker is almost as dramatic as the World Cup itself. Okay, it's time for Ask Us Anything. Ask Xtra Russia. You put your questions in using that hashtag and we answer them for you. So let's get to today's with Dre and Pescadito. Gayatri Gupta asks, who should replace Casemiro against Belgium? We've just been here, Dre.
Yep. Oh, it's got to be Paulinho. He's the most like that. I don't imagine Chichi's going to change the system at the moment. He needs a destroyer back there. There's not a huge drop off, but Casemiro gives you a certain security, certain assurances that I think free up the likes of Paulinho and Coutinho. I don't know if Paulinho does, but he's the next best thing.
Carlos, is Neymar Jr. ruining the game with his theatrics on the pitch? That's another question we have put in.
A little bit, because, I mean, it's part of the game. You know, he's very talented, and for sure they are going to try to kicking him, but, you know, he's like, you know, he's trying to make some show over there, but, you know, it's a little bit, not too much.
The last one, be careful, but don't worry too much. I'm an English fan, but I'm not even sure what I think of this question myself. Is it really coming home after this? That question's come in. Do you really think England can go all the way?
All the way to the final, yes. Coming home, unless they move to Moscow.
Pescadito?
I think, they're gonna lose against Sweden.
You think so?
Yeah, they're gonna lose against a team who defend well and just, you know, try to create something, one or two. In 90 minutes, they're going to score.
Your girlfriend's watching tonight, isn't she?
Yes.
I knew it. All right, Kev, what have you got for us?
Well, certainly any piece of analysis involving Sweden and Carlos Ruiz, completely and utterly biased. At any time, we've got Jamie Easton along with Tancredi Palmieri chatting to fans with Colombia and England. I'm worried, especially about Tancredi Palmieri.
So here we go, guys. The cream is rising to the top. The last 8, and it is a very strange bracket, reminding the one in 2002 when we had the semi-finalists like South Korea, like Turkey, Germany in quarters against USA. Well, let's face it, who is the main contender? I shall go with Brazil. After what I have seen, sorry, I took it as first. After what we have seen in this group stage, in this round of 16, especially because we saw an always solid Canarinha, and that has increased and upgraded game by game. The team and Neymar, that after raising many doubts in the first 3 games, the round of 16 was basically the man of the match, and letting see that he's still not at the top yet.
My contender is Brazil too. I've been saying that throughout all the programs. But the main reason is because I see them absolutely solid defensively speaking. Not only in the defense, but also players such as Casemiro and Paulinho helping in those defensive tasks. And they have wonderful players at front. What to say about Coutinho's World Cup? But as Tancredi said, Neymar is going little by little, just increasing his level, improving his performances, because he didn't start in the best way possible. And right now Brazil seems the most solid team, but this is the World Cup of the surprises, so we'll see what happens. But not only the contenders, what's your pretender, Tancredi?
But Italians, they say they don't have fair play in football. We go with the first pick of the pretender, yes.
My pretender, I think, will be Croatia. Okay. I think I really like this team, how they've been playing so far, but I particularly think that they have the best midfield in this World Cup so far. That combination of Modric, of Rakitic, they have a player like Kovacic at the bench. Who can allow themselves to have a player like Kovacic at the bench? Real Madrid. Only Real Madrid. And the other team is Croatia right now. So give them a chance.
I
think
have
they
to
can
tell
do
you,
something
after
important.
the group stage was Croatia for me as well, the main pretender. But I have to tell you, after tonight, I'm going with England. For me, Brazil-England to be the final.
Wow.
So much composure I have seen from England, while Croatia had disappointed me a bit against Denmark. Today, England was just for 90 minutes completely owning the pitch. And they have Hurricane. And to be honest, I saw Croatia maybe laying too much on Modric solving the situation. England, to me, back in the final after 52 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Kay Murray will be delighted to hear that. Let's continue that conversation, Carlos Ruiz. Contender or pretender? We'll start with Croatia. Back at the quarterfinal for the first time since '98.
I missed the soccer ball.
Remember Davor Suker was there that year? Are they contenders or pretenders?
Croatia is a contender, definitely. They have one of the best, like Jamie says, one of the best midfielder in the World Cup. They can create, they can score, they have a long distance shots, and it's going to be very important against Russia.
Okay, next up we have Russia, the host nation right now. They've got the nation behind them. They've got to be a contender, right?
No, Russia is a pretender.
Okay.
Yeah, Russia shows some skills, shows some soccer, but I think they're gonna lose against Croatia. It's better team Croatia. Let's see what happens, but I think Croatia's gonna win.
We found out in the last segment that six host nations have won the World Cup as well. How about Belgium?
Belgium is a contender, definitely. I see Belgium going forward.
Beyond Brazil?
Yes. Belgium is gonna play well against Brazil. These players already say it's so exciting to play against Brazil. For sure, they're going to try to win that game. I think Belgium is a contender.
Belgium, the first side to come from 2 goals down in a knockout stage game since 1966. That is absolutely incredible to think about that. Uruguay, with or without Cavani, what's it going to be?
It's a contender. I mean, the basic of this World Cup, or what the teams show, was defend well. And Uruguay is one of those teams who defend very well. They have a lot of potential at front. If he is not Cavani, probably it's Maxi Gomez, Stuani, probably is another player. But I think the key of Uruguay is to be 0 in the back, and then they are going to score sooner or later.
I mean, as we've talked about, your girlfriend Sophie is from Sweden, so we presume Sweden are contenders now, right?
No, it's a pretender. It's a pretender. Sweden is a underdog since they arrived to Russia, and then they are going to be underdog in every game. I think it's going to be a fairy tale history, but I see Sweden going far too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kay Murray won't like that. Quick break to take here on the show. When we come back, the 2 other quarterfinals. We are going to get into the weeds. Find out from Carlos Ruiz what needs to change for those sides. Drake Cordero gives us our ones to watch, and he's got a lot to say about Neymar. And we'll get off the fence with our quarterfinal predictions. Russia, you've been absolutely beautiful. Day 19 of this epic World Cup. We've enjoyed absolutely every second of it, and the bracket has thrown up many surprises, particularly on the right-hand side, as you see Russia taking on Croatia, Sweden and England in the quarterfinals, a chance for a semi-final with the heavyweights on the other side of the bracket. And we are going to break down 2 other quarterfinal games here with Carlos Ruiz. We're going to start with Sweden against England, and what needs to change. You don't like the way England are playing forward with the ball.
No, they don't. They have the players to make something different in the midfielder. They don't create anything. I mean, they have a fast players, very fast players playing on the wings, but they don't create anything. So I think if they change that, probably England can be a better team.
And you mentioned to me that the way Sweden are defending in blocks, that when Harry Kane gets the ball, he's not going to get the time and space that he had today.
Exactly. I mean, Sweden is everything they do is good. They are going to put three guys on top, trying to make England send long balls. And when you have those kind of defenders like Sweden, they have. There's going to be easy ball for them.
As for Sweden, you think they're too reliant on set pieces?
Yes. I mean, Sweden is the underdog. Don't change anything. You get there because you have that mentality, a strong mentality, and you don't have extraordinary players. Play the same. Don't change anything, and probably you can win against England.
All right, when I asked you about Croatia, Russia, I said, what can Russia do better? You said, Kevin, Russia, the lowest ranked team at the World Cup, they can do nothing better right now. Is that true?
I mean, Russia show already everything they can do. You know, I mean, they make this round against Croatia because they show they defend well and they counterattack. That's it. That's Russian soccer. Now, what happened against Spain? Spain don't have a long shots, and they have to get to the goal, playing the ball, tick, tick, you know, and after 100 touches, they say, okay, let's shoot on goal.
Yeah.
Croatia is different. Croatia have a Rakitic, have a Modric, have a Mandzukic, and they can shoot from outside of the box.
We've already seen that at this World Cup. Croatia will not be afraid to hit it from distance, particularly those two you mentioned, Rakitic and Luka Modric has already shown that so far in this World Cup. Carlos Ruiz, great stuff as always. Now it's time for our ones to watch with Dre Cordero and Kay Murray.
Thank you so much. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we've got 2 days coming up now without football. I know, I'm sorry, but what we have done to compensate is we've given you the pick of the bunch in ones to watch with all the quarter-final ties. Let's start with your player to watch, and you've gone for a player that's dividing opinions throughout this World Cup.
The biggest name left in the World Cup is the player to watch at this World Cup because he didn't finish the 2014 World Cup after an injury. Camilo Zúñiga essentially broke his back. He didn't finish the 2015 Copa America because of a suspension that's get banned for four games. Now is the moment for Neymar to take Brazil to that next level. He's been good enough this World Cup. I love the way he's creating chances. I know we're paying a lot of attention to the theatrics and the diving and whatnot. As a player, he still has been brilliant, but he has a lot more to give. And this is where I need to see the Neymar that takes Brazil to that next step. And the only step that matters for the Brazilians is the World Cup trophy.
Okay, let's move on to your team to watch. Yep. And this is the team that you've gone for, Belgium.
I have, because I've heard a lot about how Belgium are ranked number 3 in the FIFA rankings, as if that's a thing, that Belgium are one of the legitimate favorites. Well, this is the game to prove it. If Belgium can beat and can eliminate Brazil, then I'm absolutely buying into this could be Belgium's World Cup. Belgium are one of the odds-on favorites. It's been a kooky World Cup. A lot of weird things have happened, but I will buy into Belgium if they can knock off Brazil.
Yeah, you say a lot of weird things have happened. England actually won a penalty shootout today, and I'm still not sure what planet I'm on. Game to watch, who have you gone for?
The one that has 2 legitimate World Cup contenders in it. As I said, I'm not convinced totally about Belgium just yet, but I know both of these teams are brilliant. With or without Cavani, I think Uruguay have enough to potentially knock off France. And while France have not yet collectively shown how good they can be, they've been taking steps little by little. The likes of Antoine Griezmann and Kylian Mbappe can make this World Cup their own. This, to me, is the game to watch and potentially can be. We can be looking back at the end of this as the best game of the World Cup so far.
Yeah, well, that's what the viewers are going for in the poll of this one. If you just take one more look at the bracket, a lot of talk about stronger sides on one side of the bracket. If it was scales, I'd definitely be tipping over to one side. That's fair to say, but there you have it. The quarterfinals are set, and we look forward to them in a couple of days' time. When we return here, we'll recap day 19 and make our own predictions. It's anyone's guess what will happen, but we'll do our best. Stay with us.
You're very welcome back into the Xtra Rush. A little recap for you. Emil Forsberg was the hero for Sweden as they advanced to the World Cup quarter-final. The goal in the 66th minute. 66. A year you England fans starting to think a lot about, Kay.
Oh, stop it, Kevin. Getting ahead of yourself. Colombia and England's game. That's one we need to talk about. Harry Kane scoring a penalty to put the 3 Lions ahead. Yerry Mina equalising at the death. We had extra time. We had penalties.
And then what happened?
Pickford saved
and then what happened?
And Eric Dyer scored the winner. Brilliant day for England. Finally winning their first ever penalty shootout in the World Cup.
When you say it like that.
Yeah, I know. And I've been around a while now, so I've seen us lose on penalties a number of times.
First time since what, 96. They only won one.
And that was the Euros
in the Euros,
as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, it is predictions time here on the Summer Extra, or the Summer Russian Extra. I'm getting confused here. Uruguay taking on France. Ladies first. Kay Murray, who you got?
Uruguay, my favourite CONMEBOL team. I do think they're going to have a deep run. I did think they were. I'm going for them in this one.
Do you know what? I would, but Cavani is a major doubt. If Cavani's not going to play, that takes away so much of what this team has. And I'm going to go with France. I think they'll have enough to break them down.
Antoine Griezmann claims to be part Uruguayan. I don't know what that means, really. I think that he expected them to play like Atletico Madrid. I think Uruguay take this, actually, because they're so good defensively. They frustrate France.
Yeah. I will pick Garra Charrua, Uruguay. I think they show what they can do, and I think for them it's a big game, you know.
And production said France. The Antoine Griezmann thing is because Godin took him under his wing when he came to Atleti.
It's a weird thing to say.
I know. Maybe he's just trying to lull them into a false sense of security.
So here's the thing. We've gone with Uruguay then, as a collective, all right? So let's see who we're going to go with Brazil, Belgium, because Uruguay would play the winner of this game. Kay Murray.
Well, my bracket's an absolute car crash at the moment, but I do have Brazil winning the whole thing, so I'm going for Brazil.
Yeah, likewise. I had Brazil-Spain going to a final. I'm going to go with Brazil to take this one, just about, though.
This and the last one are the only part of my bracket that still make any sense, so I'm going to stick with Brazil here. We're going to get a Maracanazo rematch later on.
Yeah.
Carlos?
Belgium.
What?
Los Diablos Rojos, the Red Devils, they're going to win against Brazil. No doubt.
No doubt.
Production even say Brazil, so you're on your own on that one.
Yeah,
Carlos,
you're on your own. So that would mean then a Brazil-Uruguay semi-final. That would be absolutely epic. Russia, Croatia. Kay Murray.
In this one, I'm going to go for Croatia. I think it's going to start going their way more convincingly now that they're in these later stages.
They struggled against Denmark. Russia have been epic, a host nation. Russia for me.
Ooh.
You say convincingly. I keep waiting for Croatia to look convincing in victory, and they haven't yet, but I am picking Croatia because they're the better side.
Yeah. Well,
Carlos?
I pick Croatia too. I think they have enough talent, and with Luka Modric, with Rakitic, with Nseko, they can beat anybody.
Production, smart, like myself, going with Russia. And finally, Sweden, England. Running out of time here, okay?
England, obviously.
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to agree.
Wow. Although Sweden is their bogey team. It's their bogey team.
Dre?
Yeah, I mean, England have just won on penalties. Anything could happen, so England.
Carlos?
Sorry, Kay.
It's okay, because it will make me feel better. I don't like this England positivity.
Sophie's gotten so many mentions on this show. As for production, Sweden as well. Fascinating stuff all around. What a pleasure to have Carlos Ruiz and Dre Cordero here with us this evening. Kay Murray, well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Happy 4th to all of you for tomorrow.
Happy
we'll
4th
be back
of July.
in 2 days.
Ciao, ciao.
Give me love, give me light, give me freedom. Got my heart in the game, I believe.